What's up, YouTube? This is Hector.
This is Drew.
And we're from Not2NerdyEnt Entertainment. Today is episode 15 of the podcast, and we're going to be talking about games that we worked on in the past. Those games include Lollipop Chainsaw, which Drew worked on, and Spec Ops the Line, which I worked on. And then at the end of the podcast, as always, we're going to be talking about debatable topics. So let's start off with you, Drew. You worked on Lollipop Chainsaw, so how do you feel about the game?
So I really enjoy this game. It's a stupid game at the end of the day. It's really a funny game.
It's stupid. It looked kind of fun. I mean, it looked kind of cool.
No, what I mean by stupid is just the antics of the game. Like it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Alright, definitely not. You can tell that.
I said in my review, I had a stupid good old time, playing the game. Like one of the best experiences. Not in terms of like gameplay, but like the story and like the writing was very good. But if you guys don't know, it's the Lollipop Chainsaw. It's a collaboration between Suda51 from Grasshopper Manufacturer. It's done games like No More Heroes, Killer 7, so forth. He's one of my favorite Japanese developers. Him and guys over there at Platinum Games I really like. And James Gunn, he's like a film director, I believe, or filmmaker. He does like kind of dark comedy stuff. So it's a perfect collaboration, East meets West type of thing going on. And I think it helped the game out a lot because a lot of that, some of the culture, references they carry over a little bit better because they had James Gunn helping out with the writing. Mm-hmm. But it's a character action game. You play as Juliet Starling. She's a cheerleader from I think it's San Romero High School.
You mean Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Basically, this game is basically Buffy the Vampire Slayer meets Machine Girl, which is like a Japanese I think it's like a Japanese cult film. Like this girl has I think she has either a chainsaw or something like that. So it's very similar to that. It's like a pretty good combination. It's a very unique setting. It's kind of like a 1950s X setting, but then it's not because they have like an arcade. So it doesn't even make sense. But she basically the story of the game is she's in a high school, of course, and there's this goth kid named Swan, and he opens up the gates of hell. So all these
because they always all those goth kids.
Yeah, all those goth kids. That's what they do in their free time. They open up the gates of hell, and they had some zombies come in. So it's a zombie game.
So it's real life then,
basically, it's a real life story.
I appreciate that. That's awesome.
The series has come on Lifetime.
Oh, alright.
So look out for it.
Favorite channel.
They're gonna have the shower scene.
Favorite channel. Oprah's channel.
Julia Starling's gonna be crying in the shower because of the zombies. So alright, let's start.
Let's go back on topic.
Let's talk about video games.
Alright, cool.
So so she has a chainsaw. That's why it's called Lollipop Chainsaw. And lollipops are like her.
Creative. I'm glad.
Creative, right?
She can use an axe or some shit like that. It's called Lollipop Chainsaw.
So like I was saying, Swan, he opens up the gates, and so there's I think it's 5 boss fights, 5 stages, and these dark purveyors, you have to kill them to somehow close the gates of hell. It doesn't make any sense. But that's not the good part of the story. The good part of the story is the commentary. You have a decapitated head of your boyfriend Nick, and he's a really good character. Whereas Juliet Starling, she's kind of she plays the dumb blonde. She doesn't really say anything interesting. He says some really great commentary.
Not that all blondes are dumb.
No,
dated some smart ones.
Right.
Whatever
you say. Whatever you're saying. He said he kind of breaks the fourth wall. That's what I really like about him. He's kind of he's in the player's view of the story. He most of the time he says really smart things. He's why is whenever you're why are you in a farm fighting zombies and stuff like that. Just he's making all this different commentary. I felt if you were in the game, you would say kind of the same exact things. This makes no sense. You know what I mean? And that's why I think he does a real good job. Whereas her, she's kind of they say all these different they call her all these different names, obscenities, and she doesn't say. She just takes it. She's not like Buffy. She has a smart reply to all of them. She kind of just it just goes over her head. So besides that, the graphics. It's a pretty good looking game for what they did. It's not like every other zombie game out there where it's your typical dark browns and.
So it sort of looked like cartoonish anime style, the way they drew it and stuff.
Yeah, and it's cool. When you chainsaw a zombie open, freaking glitter and rainbows come out of it. Like it's really cool. Like how they kind of made it like a zombie game. Like it's really like colorful and bright and all that stuff. And it's really cool.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, it's a very pretty game. And I'm not just talking about Julia.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw her at PAX East.
Yeah, we saw the people dressed up.
Yeah.
Like her. Oh my god.
Yeah. But
they all win.
That's a whole nother podcast. But yeah, I mean, besides that, one of the things that really stood out to me was the music. The music there's a lot of good soundtrack music in there. Like you go into the upgrade menu, it's like Lollipop, that song, and like there's a lot of good like anthems like for each different stage, like, and that fits it really well. And I felt like that's a good thing that I think teaming up with Warner Brothers, they probably helped out.
Funny thing, it kind of felt like a Japanese karaoke though. Like a lot of the songs that they pulled out. Like I can so picture it. I'm just thinking that.
I could. That's hilarious. That's always funny to watch. So I mean, I really liked it. It had like that grindhouse type of vibe for it. I mean, the game is set up, with these outrageous boss fights, which is something that Grasshopper is known for. And it's cool because each one of them is like a different musical genre kind of thing. So like you have a hippie chick, and like she goes through these little, psychedelic. She like throws bubbles at you and like all types of crazy stuff. You got the one of the best ones is like the first boss fight. His name is Zed, and he's a punk rocker. He spews obscenities at you, like literally. Like these letters come at you. It says like vanilla. You can fill in the rest. And like he spits it right at you. Then he's like on a stereo box, and he's like like a what is it, like a speaker? Like a big ass speaker.
Big speaker, yeah.
He's a big ass speaker, and he's on top of it, and he's like spewing the words down at you, and you have to like dodge them with like quick time events and stuff like it. It's just it's crazy. And he's just calling you all types of obscenities out. Like I'm surprised like this game is not on Fox News. Because like all the stuff they say to this girl is it's unbelievable.
After Grand Theft Auto, I mean, they really don't care about that. You're being opposed and stuff. And now they're like, whatever.
They make so much money. I think they let it go. I guess. But as a character action game, I think it's suitable. It's not Bayonetta or Devil May Cry or anything like that. But I mean, it works for the most part. You got your light, heavy attacks. The chainsaw, you can like swing it high to take off zombies' head and then low to like take out their legs and stuff like that, or when they're on the ground, take them out. Then you have your pom poms or like your light attack, so that's used to like stun the enemies, and then you could chop off their heads. Then you get a machine gun blaster, which you use to like for ranged attacks. So it's a nice varied system.
Is it like upgradable at any point, or is it like do you have a certain spot you have to go to upgrade something?
Yeah. You have to go to the shop to upgrade the different abilities.
Okay.
And you collect like basically using these different combos. It's like a system of it's kind of like an old beat 'em up type of system.
The old school.
And you collect those points and you use those like medals to buy different items. You can buy more ammo for your gun and lollipops for health, and make your health bigger, your attack more stronger, and so forth.
That's cool.
But yeah, I mean it works. The biggest problem is the camera system with the game. I mean it's all over the place. Like you find a lot of these character action games that when I do a right camera and it's just all over the place and it's really annoying. And also some of the button presses don't work sometimes. Like I had to do like the last boss fight like twice because I missed a button at the end of the whole entire freaking boss fight. Like that shit was annoying as hell.
Oh, that's always fun when you have to restart something.
Just because I have a quick time event, which is kind of stupid. But overall, it wasn't frustrating because it's a really easy game. It's not that difficult. It's kind of like the polar opposite of the game I did before. That's why I think I had so much fun with it. Like Dragon's Dogma was like gruelingly hard, and like this game is just like a nice fun experience. 5 hours, nice and short. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's a total opposite, and I think that's why I enjoyed it a little bit more. But yeah, besides that, I mean, it's really short. That's another thing. I mean, there's no multiplayer or co-op or anything, so it takes like 5 hours to beat. So I mean, in terms of features, it's not really anything to go back to. So I would say rent it.
Do you think that that game probably could have had like a co-op feature in it?
I think so.
Do you think that they had room for that?
They definitely have room because there's you have different sisters in the game, and there's different segments where like they're helping you out. They could have made like some type of co-op experience around that where you can maybe control the little sister. She rides like a bus, and the older sister has like a sniper. Like they could have a sniper part and like that.
Cause I noticed with the camera angle, like the way they had the camera was they're using like if they had room for another player on screen because like when you zoom out that much like they did different angles and stuff, you could easily put two people on the same screen.
And that's the funny thing. That's like one thing I think that's lacking in these type of games. Like I've never really seen a true character action game where it's co-op. You know, I think the only one is Ninja Gaiden Sigma or something like that. They had a co-op feature, but you rarely see it anymore.
Whatever happened to Turtles in Time or
Exactly.
X-Men and
that's what I mean. Like
you got the Simpsons, like all that, like beat 'em up style, the old school beat 'em up style.
Like there's a way to do it. Like you just gotta pan out the camera, and I'm not talking about God of War multiplayer. You know what I mean?
You like to stay in frame. Like you do it the same way.
That's what I'm saying. They can do it. I just don't know why they haven't figured it out yet. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I would definitely say go out and rent it, for a weekend, Redbox or GameFly or whatever you guys use, and you'll finish it in like a weekend. You'll enjoy it.
Yep. So definitely, you said you got the review and everything.
Yep. The review is up on the site, so if check that out, see what I give it. And it's I'll definitely say try it out.
All right, cool. So now we're gonna go to Spec Ops: The Line. Now, the last game, Ghost Recon. I was expecting this game to be like Ghost Recon or compete against Ghost Recon.
Right.
So, I already had a third-person military shooter in my mind, so I already looked at one of the things I did not like from Ghost Recon, and I already knew what I was going to be looking for in this game because I just played one, alright? So I already know what it's all about, and plus I got a chance to play the demo of PAX East, so I sort of knew what to expect with this game.
Yeah.
Well, when I got the game, I threw everything out, I didn't expect anything I thought about this game. Completely changed. Like I didn't know what to expect anymore, what to actually saw. I'm like, wow, I did not expect that. I did not expect that. So I'm going to start out with the things I did not like about the game. Okay. So right off the bat, the multiplayer in this game, throw it away. Don't even bother wasting your time going multiplayer. It is the worst multiplayer, and I really mean this. The worst multiplayer for military shooter I've ever seen in my life, like ever. Like I'm talking about. Even from like a PlayStation 2 game or ever for multiplayer. And I've never said that about any game to say it in the year 2012. I'm saying that they have the worst game multiplayer system I've ever seen. Okay, some of the problems with multiplayer. Sometimes you can't log in. That's a problem. Okay, fine. You finally log in. The host decides to quit the game. Everyone goes back to the main screen. There's no system like, Call of Duty or Battlefield or what most games in 2012 do where the game pauses, it finds a new host, and it makes sure everyone stays in the same team, same points, everything. It just finds a new host and they continue with the game. This one doesn't do that. Instead, it brings you back to the main menu. That's old school. That no one's done that since the original Call of Duty. You know what I mean? And now, on top of that, you get no points. So there was one match that I was playing for like about 18 minutes. There was about 30 seconds left. And then the person quit, the host quit because they were losing the game, which happens a lot. Or maybe, they lost connection. Maybe they didn't mean to quit, but whatever it was, the host left. It said, a message came up on the screen that said that we'll return everyone back to main menu. When it goes back to main menu, 0 points. I get 0 points for playing 18 minutes. All the kills I had, everything I did was a waste of time. Obviously, because it didn't count for anything. So I couldn't upgrade my weapon, I couldn't do anything. So that's a big flaw right there. So let's pretend that you get past that, you get connected to people, you find people to play, because that's another thing, no one's playing this game too much. But if everything goes well and you find people to play, everything's connected, you go and play the game. The game sucks, okay? The characters. If you look at the main story campaign mode, and then you look at the character in the multiplayer, they're two completely different characters. They're not detailed in multiplayer. Like the armor, everything looks weird. The helmet, they're not proportion-wise. It looks like you have a character with a big head, small body, a weird shaped gun. I think the most detailed thing is the gun, and the gun looks like crap too.
Yeah. When I noticed when I saw some of your videos, the clipping was really bad too.
Yeah.
It was unbelievably bad. Like, if you believe, like, in 2012, like, this type
of... I just cannot believe, like... And the funny part is that they were talking to the lead designer, and the lead designer said, oh, Like this is everyone's gonna pay attention to the story of this game because this is a story that's never been done before. We actually put so much time to the story and we're making a great experience for the people. I'm like, that's awesome. You know, they focus on the story and stuff like that. And then when he was asked about the third person, you know, the multiplayer, he said it's just like every other third person shooter. No, it isn't. I'm expecting it's gonna be like, all right, it's gonna be
up to
average.
par.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It was not even average. It wasn't even close. It looked like they seriously did spend all the time doing the main story. They didn't do anything.
That's kind of what I don't get though. It's like I feel like all right, they put multiplayer in right to extend the life of the game, but then if you put a bad multiplayer, what's the point? Like, what's the even point of
the funny thing is, which I'll get into, I think people spend more time on the main story playing it multiple times than multiplayer, which is funny because usually that's what replayability is about. But
that's
people
what I'm saying.
Probably spend more time replaying the main story.
And I think that's what they should have did. I think like there's room to have a single player experience where you can play it multiple times. And that hasn't been done before. Whereas like,
not for military shooter, not like that. Like that's a perfect opportunity.
Exactly. So I don't know why they didn't just rely on that if that was their focus.
It's just ridiculous. Like the only matches I could get was team deathmatch, which is called Mutiny on there, but eventually I actually got chaos match, but they kept starting me too late. Like chaos match is like free for all, so everyone against each other, and anytime I logged in, they keep putting me in a match where I'm down by 15 kills and stuff like that. You're not gonna catch up. You're down 15 kills when it's first person 25, so it's not gonna happen.
So but you didn't think the zip lining and shooting the bags of sandwiches?
They had zip lining. I mean, it was kind of fun at times. Yeah. But another thing that was so bad, it's so dead quiet. When I talk about dead quiet in the game, like there's no sound effects. The only sound effect you hear is like either a gun shooting, like you hear pew 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 in the background. That's it. Or you hear like a sandstorm every freaking 10 seconds comes and everyone can't see. You're covering your face and shit. Like,
oh, you weren't immersed by that?
The thing that pissed me off, the sandstorm disappeared. My guy still covered his face like this until like the little speckle of sands like disappear. I'm like, what the hell? That pissed me off. So the multiplayer, like I said, throw it away. It's a waste of time. They should have never put that in the game, or they should have worked more on it, whichever one. So let's go to the campaign mode. Campaign mode. I'm going to also talk about the bad things about the campaign mode before anything else. Campaign mode. The buttons, the control of the game was bad. Once again, I don't know what people are doing. I don't know why they're trying to change button layouts and stuff like that because it's a third-person shooter. A lot of people don't want to be like Call of Duty or Battlefield. They don't want to do the same buttons, so they switch the buttons around. That button works, okay? Those buttons work for a reason. That's why people like it. You do not put, what they did is put X is the same button for the cover system and to sprint. Does not work because I'll tell you in a second why it doesn't work. The next button that doesn't work is they have the vault button, which is circle, is also the melee attack. Doesn't work. So I'll give you a little scenario right now. The enemy throws a grenade at you. Well, guess what? This game you can't pick up the grenade and throw it back. So the only thing you do is either vault over the ledge that you're covering system, right? Say you're taking cover, you vault over it and go closer to them, which leaves you vulnerable to attacks. But, so let's pretend we did that. Vault over, oh wait, sorry, I just melee attacked the wall for no reason because I pressed circle. Finally, I get a chance to vault over. Maybe I made it, maybe I didn't. The grenade probably went off already because the grenades are quick. The grenades, you don't have that much time to react. Most likely the grenade went off. But let's say I did vault over. Most likely I'm going to get shot now because the cover system, I just jumped over the wall, now they're all shooting me and I'm dead.
Yeah.
Doesn't work. So let's say I press X. Alright, I'm on the wall right now, cover system. Okay, I gotta run out of here. I run, I press run, he covers on a different wall. And then I still get killed by a grenade. Or sometimes I leave and I'm crouching. And then crouch, run, and he finally sprints. And by the time he sprints, boom, I'm still dead. So there's a lot of things they could have fixed this. Like a lot of ways they could have fixed it. They could have either put the X bind, replace it. Make sure only X is covered, or make sure run's covered. Don't put them together.
Like, what do you think is a good formula for that type of layout? Like, what game do you think?
I say Call of Duty is only the matches because the reason why that L3 button's for a reason. The L3 button and It's L3 button and R3 button. R3 button, I don't even think they use that for anything in the game.
I guess what I meant was more like third-person shooters, like in terms of like the button layout for.
I think the best one has to be Gears of War.
Right.
It has to be the best one. Still, that one's iffy sometimes.
Yeah.
But overall, it's the best one. They're still not perfected that for third-person shooter. I think that's
not Uncharted. You think Uncharted has some of the same problems?
Uncharted, the same problem.
Yeah.
Uncharted, the same problem, just different format of problems.
Right.
So I think Gears of War, that's why you can tell a lot of them are trying to do the Gears of War. Because when you sprint, the camera shakes. They're trying to like emulate the same thing Gears of War does. But Gears is probably the best for third-person shooter control. So that's a huge problem right there. But let's go into what was good about the game. And the highlight of the game is the story. And I have to say this is the best story ever. Without giving any spoilers, this is the best story ever. This is what makes the game. And the story takes you about 4 to 6 hours, depending on how good you are. I died a couple times. So it took me like 6 hours, 10 minutes, whatever.
You mean as far as a military shooter, this is one of the best?
This is the best story ever, a military shooter.
Really?
The best story, hands down. Because for once you got to see what it's like in the eyes of a soldier, like, and you see what it's like like what's going on in a war. It's a war, and you know that anything goes in a war. You try to do the right thing, but sometimes the right thing isn't the right thing.
Right.
And you find out at the end of the story, everything that you've done throughout the story, you see how you're affected by it, and how everyone else around you is affected by what you've done.
Without any spoilers, like what's the story about? Like what were you trying to do?
All right, so the mission is you're in Dubai, and you're soldiers. You're supposed to go there and retrieve and save people from Dubai, like evacuate people from Dubai. That's your mission. That's your goal, or so you think is your mission. And you go through the whole thing. You don't know what's going on. So the whole story is you're trying to figure out what's going on while everything. You're going there, and then all of a sudden people are attacking you in the beginning. Or are they really attacking? You don't know what's going on.
Right.
So that's what the whole story is. You're trying to figure it out while you're there.
Yeah.
But the main story is you're supposed to be there to save people.
Yeah.
And that's what the whole story is. That's what you have to find out what it's about.
Yeah.
But the thing I like about this is that you get choices throughout the game. Now, they're not choices where you press A or you press square or X, like you do this, you make choices. No. You act out the choices. For example, you have an option that says you could kill someone. You could kill him or let him go. You do it. You don't just press a button to do it. You actually do it.
And what you mean by that is like it doesn't even come up, right? Like there's no like text around these decisions.
No,
right?
that's why. So there's some things after the game's over. Like I guarantee you, once you play the game, you're gonna want to play the game again, or at least skip to the parts to see what happens if you didn't do what you did. Because there's certain parts I didn't even know was technically a choice. I thought the way it was working that. There's one scene, for example, I'll just give you a little example. One scene that this guy was, he's talking and he's backing up slowly, and we said freeze, and I have the gun aimed at him, but so do the computer, my teammates have the gun aimed at him too. So I'm thinking that it was just part of the story, because he's talking, I'm talking like that. It's a conversation, but I do have the gun pointed at him. But I thought it was one of those things that you're supposed to listen to him and everything. Later on, after I beat the game, I'm like, can I shoot the guy? Turns out I can shoot and kill the guy. And it affects the story. Something different happened. Do you get what I'm saying? Like that's what it's all about. Like you can act on what you feel like doing. There's parts where the hostage, there's so many different situations where you get a choice. There's even one scene that it's not really spoiling, so I'm going to say like one scene, if you guys don't want to hear this so you can cover your ears, but one scene there's a guy that is stuck under a truck or whatever, and it's on fire. And he gave you, he said like, he doesn't want to suffer or whatever. Just, you have a choice. You could kill him. You could do whatever you want. And that's it. I'm not gonna say what exactly happens. You can do whatever you want, but your choice. You literally have a choice. You could do so many different things. I didn't even know you could do different things, or you just walk away and do nothing, and then something happens because you did nothing. So that's what makes you think, like, wow, what if I did this? Like, you might want to go back just to play that one scene. It's like, what? Maybe I should kill him here. Maybe I shouldn't kill him. Maybe I should walk away, see what happens. He could catch on fire, or is he going to survive? Like, what's going to happen? And that's the greatness of the story of the game. You have so many options. Now, fast forward to the ending of the game. There's a major choice at the end of the game, that a lot of people don't know, and you have to see the walkthrough. I'm going to show it there. I have multiple endings to the game. I'm going to show all the endings that you can get in the game. If you make a certain choice, I'm not going to say what the choice is, there's one choice, only one choice, that will lead you to an epilogue, which is a whole nother scene, where you're brought up another choice in that epilogue. So I brought up two possible, like epilogues. There's only one epilogue, but you have two choices in there. And in my walkthrough, I actually show what happens if you do this in the epilogue, what happens if you do that. I also showed you 3 alternate endings, 2 of which pretty much give you the same, 2 of which you made like 2 different choices, but it still gives you the same ending. But one of them is the one that leads you into an epilogue.
So how many endings are there all together?
So if you really want to think of it, at the end in chapter 15, which is the last chapter, because 15 chapters, there's 3 choices you have to make, pretty much. 3 possible choices you can make. 2 out of the 3 lead you to the ending of the game, the original ending of the game. Mm-hmm. The third one is what leads you into epilogue, a whole nother section. Once you're in the epilogue, you have 2 choices there. You can either do one thing or you can do this thing. And both of them lead into 2 different endings as well. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was saying. So if you really want to think about it, it's technically 5 endings.
Oh, 5? Oh, wow.
It's technically 5 endings, if you really want to look at it like that. So it could be 4 or 5 the way you look at it, but it's technically 4 or 5 endings. And another thing, you have a flashback after one ending for stuff that you did in the beginning of the game, but remember, it's going to be a different flashback if you did different things throughout the game. So that's another thing. So it could slightly be different for other people as well. So it's really one major ending though. And like you'll see, if you guys are ready, you can see in the walkthrough how to do that. Or you could just experience it yourself and try and fool around different possible ways. But there's one major ending. And I don't want to say it's the right ending because everyone's debating over Mass Effect 3 which one's the right ending, but I would think that's the one that the creators wanted you to find out because that had a whole epilogue, it had a whole story,
they took extra time
and it sort of looped the story around. So like where you began in the game, you understand what happened at the end. So it sort of looped everything to understand what went on. So I think that was the right ending, that was the intended ending, but other ones were just as good. So.
It'll be real interesting to see when Black Ops 2 comes out when you do the walkthrough for it. Like that, if they are able to do something as well as this in terms of story. I
don't know, cause like they had a writer, I forgot his name, but they had an actual well-known writer that wrote novels and stuff, writing the story for this. That's where they separate. He wrote novels and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think it's like Apocalypse Now, like who was influenced.
Yeah,
right.
So like he wrote stories and stuff already. So see what they should have did. They should have took this game, grabbed someone that knows how to do multiplayer, knows how to do like better movements and stuff inside the game. They would have been perfect. It's funny because if you were to look at the multiplayer, you'd be like, are these people blind? Like who the heck? Who designed this? You know, are they blind? And it's funny because like the person that designed the multiplayer, if you look it up, they're called Blind Squirrel, like the company. So like, well, it makes sense now. Like it makes sense because you must be blind if you think this multiplayer is good. But besides that, like I think, unfortunately, I think this is a rental game. But I'm saying it has to be a rental game for like GameFly. So you can't rent it on Redbox because you're gonna want to play it multiple times. So it's gonna take some time. It make you like it takes like 4 to 6 hours, like I said, but you're gonna want to do multiple times to see different endings and stuff like that, which you can do chapter by chapter, so you can skip ahead and do stuff.
That's
but
cool.
You know, like I said, like you're definitely gonna want to play multiple times. So it's still a rental game because the multiplayer sucks. But like I said, you're gonna probably want to rent for something like GameFly, something you have more time and you're not rushed.
Before we close out, I just want you to talk a little bit about the graphics because I think that's a standout feature as well.
All right, the graphics in this game. All right, we already talked about the graphics. Multiplayer sucks. It's in the main story. It's completely different. It actually really stands out. It really looks really good. Now some of the texture. For the character texture, the facial features, I had a couple glitches where it went in and out and the person was faceless and they came back and it's very detailed. So it had some moments where it did not look good, but some of the sky view, like where you leave out and like the rooftop scene, there's a rooftop scene, you look outside and it just looks like a huge world. Like you could tell how small the character is compared to the world, and that's a sky view technique that developers use to really show you how big this world is, and you can see the buildings, how big they were, like how big the desert was, like everything looked so realistic, and that they really did good on that.
And I think it was like a really unique setting too, Dubai, like because it's a really rich city too. Like so when you go in some of these places, like they all the different they have like statues and all types of crazy stuff, man. Like it was really cool. Like it brought a lot of color, like a nice color to like a standard military shooter where it's usually in the desert and like,
it had a more brighter feel to it.
Because it's funny, like it seemed like in the beginning of the game it looks like just every other military shooter, and then as you're going through the whole entire game, like you just see more and more different colors and like the sky view, like you're talking about.
That's the irony in the whole thing, because I think they purposely did that. It's like a brighter feel to this game. Like everything's bright, but yet the mood is dark. Everything that's going on inside the game is dark. The choices you make is dark, and the ending is dark. So like it's just funny how you're such in a bright place that some of the scenery looks beautiful, but then when you look in certain places, it doesn't look beautiful. It's pretty cool how they
it's a statement. That's what I think they're trying to make it.
So overall, I mean, I like the story of the game. I was a little disappointed, but I pretty much threw away the multiplayer in my mind because I can't. I have to judge a game because it had multiplayer, but at the same time, I really don't want to focus on multiplayer. I want to focus on the story. After going back to see the multiple endings, now I enjoyed the story even more because I was able to see the endings, and each of them made sense. Each of them could have been your ending. Like I could have stayed with the first one; it made sense because it's a more of a moral issue. The ending. Then the other one was more of like a physical issue. Like it's different. It's mentally and physically two different endings.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna be playing this game for the story, and I definitely can't wait.
So definitely rent that game. And the last topic we're going to be talking about is actually we want to talk about all the game companies and how like game companies are shutting down. Big name companies and companies that have been around for a long time and companies that just started not too long ago, but they did have some successful games, and they're out of here too. So games like 38 Studios, which made huge
and 38
games.
Studios,
they did
Amalur.
Yep. And
we know you have trouble with that.
No, I just want to hit because that was the game that he did. But Radical Entertainment.
That was the latest one. Yeah.
That was the game that I did with Prototype 2. Their creators Prototype 2, and they shut down. Yeah. So we know it's not going to be Prototype 3. But I'll start with you. Like, how do you feel about all these big name companies like shutting down?
Well, I mean, specifically, like the 38 Studios situation, I think it's unfortunate. The good thing about that, though, is that Epic bought big, huge games. So it's good to see that, a set of talented developers can now continue with a studio that, they're not going anywhere. Epic makes the Unreal Engine, Gears of War, they're not going anywhere. So it'll be nice to see that those developers are, they already know how to work as a team already. So it'll be good to see what project they're working on.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing that's only fortunate thing that's happened out of that situation. Something like Radical, it's heartbreaking to see. When these developers have been in the industry for so long, and now they're getting basically shut down.
But you imagine that game if they put an Unreal 4 engine.
Shit.
I understand. If they bring out that game.
I hope so. I hope they don't go like how People May Fly is. People Can Fly, whatever the hell it's called. I hope they don't like get attached to like one of Epic's Epic's IPs. I hope they let them continue like a different IP. Maybe still keep it like Amalur, keep it like a fantasy. Maybe Infinity Blade console game. Maybe I don't know. I'm not game design. But yeah, I mean, there's always good and bad. Mostly bad when these companies go under. I think it's unfortunate that nowadays for like a AAA game you gotta sell like at least $2 million to break even, and past that, and it's very risky, man. Especially something that's not established IP like your Halos and Call of Duties out there. If you're a new IP, you're trying some unique ideas, man. It's really risky, and that's what happens, man. Prototype 2, even though it was like the best-selling game in April, it still wasn't enough.
It's funny because I thought they did decent enough, but like it turns out that they put everything on the line for that game, and like it turned out like they didn't just need to do good; they needed to do like perfect, and like that was what they were hoping on, and like I don't know, man. You're trying to do something like that. You better include multiplayer or something like on that game because they didn't have that stuff, and I don't know what they were thinking that game. I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, in parts it was good, some parts it wasn't good, but it was decent. You know, I actually liked playing it, but for them to put everything on the line, like this company's been around since the '90s. Okay, they made games for up to like Super Nintendo even they made games for it. They had like they made all those Simpsons games, like all those Simpsons Wrecking Ball, like everything, like Simpsons games. They made, oh man, I don't even remember some of the titles, dude. They made games from the start, but like Prototype was their new the new series and stuff like that. Prototype, the original Prototype did really good, and then Prototype 2 didn't do as good, but it did decent. And the reason why, just like me, you know, we're all part of the problem that. A lot of us didn't buy Prototype 2. A lot of us rented or played it. Prototype 2 did well, rentals and everything else, but people didn't buy it, and that was a problem.
And it also seems like Activision too, man. They're part to blame too. I mean, it seems like they take these developers and they just like they don't want to risk new IPs. You know, like Prototype 2, it wasn't a good enough franchise for us, so bye. You know what I mean? It's like. And then then there are other franchises, the ones that do well, they just run them into the ground. Like the developer will keep like working on it. You know, and then at the other side of things is like, you know, good developers like say the guys I forgot their name, the guys who did I can't remember their name right now, but they work on the Call of Duty series now. Raven. They just they take these other developers, Sledgehammer, Raven, they just have them work on like Call of Duty or something like that instead of having them working on like a new IP, which I don't like either.
Well,
you know?
you can't blame them either. I mean, as much as you want to get upset at Activision, like if you look at it, the money is that. Those franchises, the Call of Duty and stuff like that, you're gonna make money. Like you don't have to. The thing is funny. You don't have to make a great Call of Duty game anymore. The reason why is because regardless if it's great or not, it's a newer version of Call of Duty, and people know if they're gonna play multiplayer online, they're gonna have to play the newest Call of Duty. Otherwise, no one else will be playing online with them. So that's just what it is.
I understand that. I just think like, especially like a team like Raven who's talented at shooting games, like. Have them, you know, maybe help them have other new IPs, you know, help them like establish the multiplayer for it instead of like Call of Duty. Like they're not gonna mess up the Call of Duty multiplayer. Yeah,
but
like, it's damn near impossible.
They're not the only person that does that. Like you're talking about stuff like Madden. You know what I mean? Like EA Sports. Like look how much change does Madden do every year? Every year they say it's a big change, and you look at it, it's really not that much of it. You know what I mean? And every year people buy a new one. Why? Because they want the updated version. They don't want the one that's old, and they know people will be playing online with the new Madden, and no one's gonna play that one. That's why you can't even trade that shit in. You go somewhere you can't trade that in. Why can't you trade in? Because it's worth like 10 cents, like a GameFly or not GameFly, GameStop. And it's just the way it is because no one wants the old version; they want the new version. And once you reach that level, you're gonna push it until it burns up, and that's it. Because you're making so much money. I mean, look how much, like Black Ops made. How much money?
It was probably the biggest game ever.
It was until Modern Warfare 3 came out. And Modern Warfare 3 made even more than Black Ops. So that's the thing. Black Ops was announced that they made the most money, and then Modern Warfare 3 made even more money than them. And Black Ops 2 was probably going to make even more money than Modern Warfare 3. So that's just the way it is. So it's just going to be like that. You're not.
It just seems like it's just Activision is just gonna be Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like whatever the franchises they're gonna have, it's like they're.
But I mean, Activision's been around for a long time. Like they were almost. I remember at one point Activision was about to be sold. Like I'm pretty sure EA was almost about to buy out Activision at one point. And then that's when Call of Duty franchise came out.
And don't forget Blizzard either. that definitely helps. World of Warcraft money probably helps.
So
and
after the whole Blizzard thing and and the Call of Duty franchise, those two franchises that made Activision rich, like filthy rich, they don't have to worry about certain things. So that's why they see an IP not doing well, they drop it. They're not even waiting for it. Like Prototype 2 could have been better. It could have been a better game, but maybe Prototype 3 would have helped it. You know, they would have found a new mechanic or something to do to make it better.
Do you think someone else will pick it up, or do you think it's gone forever?
I think the way Prototype 2 worked out, the way the story went down, and the way it was, the character development that they were lacking, like, I don't think anyone's going to pick that up. I think it's pretty much a done deal. Like, maybe I'm wrong, maybe someone else will pick it up, but I'm saying, like, they sort of screwed it up.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think.
It's not that it was a bad game. It's just that they just left it out in the open. Like the only person that could work on it, people that've been working on it, pretty much. So I don't know. I think that's about it. Like overall, companies itself, you know, you gotta really make sure what you're working on is good. That's why a lot of companies don't want to take too many chances because of the problem. 38 Studios, you know, like you get money, you got all this money, $75 million. You think is a lot of money. That's not a lot of money if you're trying to create an MMO, especially, and that's what they were trying to do. 38 Studios. That's what made them bankrupt. And if you take big risks, and some companies are taking risks, you got to make sure you're putting your money in the right spot. They put all the money in Prototype 2, hoping that Prototype 2 will give them the money back. And
that's the sad thing about the industry. You know, it's kind of like you're only as good as the last project you're working on. Yeah. That's what it seems like.
And that's hundreds of people that are fired, and they only kept 15%, like the core people from there, and that's it. And they're gonna be working on other games for Activision, aka just Call of Duty. Just put there you go. Work on
what
this.
other action title does Activision even have? I can't think of one.
You know what I mean? Like, let's see what they're gonna do, because I really don't know. Like what's gonna happen from now on? Cause you look at all these companies, a lot of people are scared, and it's funny. So many people are scared to get MMOs, but yet look how many MMOs are gonna be coming out in the next.
There's another one coming out next Tuesday.
Yeah, you know, the next couple of months, so many MMOs are coming.
Guild Wars 2, like they never stop.
It's millions of dollars for MMO. I think that's part of the problem because it costs so much money to make those type of games.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So, I think that's pretty much it. So anything else you want to say?
Yeah. So I mean, in next couple of weeks, it's gonna be a drought. So there's not many games coming out, but we're gonna find a way to still give you guys content. For our next podcast, we're gonna be doing a Quantum Conundrum. I'm finishing up the walkthrough for that. What game are you gonna be working on?
Well, right now I'm going to be working on Spider-Man. So that after the Spider-Man game, I'm also going to do Walking Dead. Might as well say that I'm doing Walking Dead Part 1 and Part 2, but I'm going to do a whole bunch for Part 1. I'm going to try to do as much different outcomes as possible, do different selections. I'm going to have to play Part 1 over and over again and record it straight through, and then go back, play it again, record it straight through, and do different choices, and do the same thing for Part 2, so you get to see exactly what the choices, like the difference between the choices, stuff like that.
I can't wait for that podcast. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be a lot of choice. It's gonna be pretty hard to do that, but I already found a way. I'm going to go straight through and do that. So besides that, definitely go to our website, www.not2nerdy.com. The link will be below. Like us on Facebook,
Twitter.
And we just want to do something different. Thank everyone that did subscribe to us on YouTube already. We appreciate all the subscriptions, and we're going to work harder. We're definitely have our gaming news coming up soon to our website. Yeah. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. I'll be working on Secret World for the month of July, so there will be some content for the month of July.
There will be some content.
So don't get worried. You think, there's no games coming out.
Oh, we'll definitely be doing that. Vlogs, a whole bunch of different things.
Some blogs, news, and all that good stuff. Yeah.
All right. So this is Hector.
This is Drew.
And we're from Not2NerdyEnt Entertainment. So that's it. See you two.